It took like
It's
8 seconds for it to show the
man,
preview, and we're live. Cool. Hey,
yeah.
look at
The
that.
the internet's not busy today.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 357, your once-week live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Spotify or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel.
Yeah.
We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there.
Yep.
Welcome to
Yeah,
the show.
That's right. Yeah, I'm taking over for Rhett again. We were supposed to swap weeks.
Yeah, this was supposed to be an even exchange.
But Rhett got captured by a Turkish harem and couldn't come. So
I think he allowed himself to get captured.
yeah, I think he might have.
Yeah.
He said it was kidnapped, but I think he kind of went voluntarily.
You heard something about snoo snoo, and
Yeah, he's like, I can't make it. I'm being held against my own free will.
oh well, we're happy to have you on twice in a row. All the
Oh,
same.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. It's more excuses to drink beer, right?
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It was a little chilly in my house this afternoon, so I'm actually finishing up a glass of tea right now.
Oh, there you go. Tea Earl Grey hot.
No, I do not like Earl Grey tea.
What? No, I actually like Earl Grey. I mean, I legit like it.
Yeah,
Not because like Picard liked it, but I thought it's actually pretty good.
see, I like straight up black tea. And so you go to a good like Chinese restaurant. I love the black tea that they serve there. But Lapsang Sochong, which is actually what Patrick Stewart argued to Gene Roddenberry that Picard should have been drinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe because it was just too, I don't know, long?
It might have been, or it might have been just
doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Earl Grey.
right. Well, yeah. It always seemed weird to me that he was French drinking British tea. But whatever.
Yeah. I think it just sounded more regal. It sounded something that Captain would drink,
Right. It was more fancy,
Yes,
pinky out, that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
But no, Lapsang Sochong, it's a smoky black tea, and so it's like the Scotch drinker's tea. So it's delicious.
I know they did it in the original Star Trek, where they had Scotty actually drink Scotch, like real Scotch.
Uh-huh.
But then they brought the synthahol in.
Yeah.
They gotta go back to like where they're drinking like real booze on there.
Yeah,
like that's the captain's favorite. They got the SS Valdez, and the captain will be drinking like just whatever non-synthahol.
Well, it is pretty. It is canon that Riker is flush with Romulan ale.
Okay, yeah.
According to Lower Decks.
That's right. That is right.
Because apparently Riker is Mariner's supplier of all the contraband.
Yeah.
Which I just found hilarious when they did that. But yeah, having a little Lapsang Sochong. But I do have some beers lined up. Steve, what do you got ready to go?
So I got one IPA and one stout. I thought I'd mix it up a little bit from my regular IPAs. My first one is it's called Flatlands. It's a hazy IPA from Structures Brewing. I've never heard of them, and I've never had this before, but it was rated really high on Untapped, so decided to get it. And then since I hadn't had a stout in a long time, and it is getting colder and darker, and it sounds like a stout thing, I decided to get this smoked coffee porter called Coffee and Cigarettes by Cellar Maker. So
boy, if that ain't a mood.
Yeah, I know, right? I love the cover art right there. It's really great.
That is great.
That is good stuff. So it's a coffee porter soaked in half smoked Marlboros.
All right. I do have a couple beers here. In celebration of basically the sun going away for the next 6 months here in Oregon, I've got a Silver Falls Brewery Oregon Sunshine Hazy IPA.
Oh, there you go. Liquid Sunshine. Yeah,
Yep.
Oregon Sunshine.
And then this one, I think we'll be making its second appearance here on the show, but it is Drop Bear Brewery. Funny enough, not from Australia, actually a Eugene, Oregon brewery.
Yeah.
Weil Riley, PA. It's a red pale ale, or a rye, rye hazy IPA.
Huh.
And
yeah, I don't remember you having that one, but maybe it was a different.
This was
show.
one of my favorite IPAs of the last year. So I saw it on the shelf again, and I'm like, I have to have that.
A rye IPA. I like all things rye. Yep. I should try that. I should pick that up if I see it.
Yeah, it's a rye hazy, and it is fantastic.
And that's going to be your second one, huh?
That's going to be the second one. Yeah,
it's going to finish that off with a bang.
That's the finisher.
Yeah.
And of course, I've got my nice Spock mug here.
I have a Star Trek mug, and then I have a Goonies mug. Those are my two go-to mugs.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a couple different Star Trek ones. Obviously, I have the Ractigino mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my Star Trek mug is the one with the original cast.
Oh, okay.
And they're the ones that as it heats up, they beam in.
That's right.
They're all transported.
Yeah. I think it'd be really funny to do like a Spock mug, but then when you heat it up, it's Mirror Universe Spock. It adds a beard.
Oh, and he puts
that'd be amazing. Yeah.
That would be awesome. So that's when you pour your coffee in. He's evil Spock because you haven't had your coffee yet.
Right.
But as you drink it, you become
Spock.
Good, normal good Spock. Yeah.
Yeah. We almost need to do like all the original series characters and have them be their evil versions.
Yeah. That would be amazing. Actually, that's a great idea. Why they have not done that yet, I have no idea.
I have dibs on that idea, everyone. I will see what I can make
Paramount
happen.
might have something to say about that, but okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I just finished that, so I think I'm going to have some Silver Falls Oregon Sunshine Hazy IPA.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's right. I actually get to not only talk about the beer, I actually get to drink it too.
That's right.
I know it's close to Halloween, so I wish they gave out beer instead of candy.
Yep. I do like the spooky background you got going on, though.
Yeah, I thought I'd mix the mood up a little bit.
Smells of pineapple and guava from here.
Ooh, that sounds great.
Yep. Steve and I actually had a beer together about 2 hours ago, which was
awesome.
That's
right.
I had to give him some PC parts for his LAN rig that he's bringing to PDX LAN. Woo!
That's right. That's right. That's coming up real quick.
Yep. But I've been a little tired like all day today. And so I show up at the tap house, and she goes, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Normally I'm like, give me a good malty or something." I went, "I want your most tropical, punch you in the mouth beer that you have. Otherwise, I'm going to fall asleep drinking it." And she delivered. Gosh, what did I end up having? Was that another Silver Falls? It might have been. It was another Silver Falls.
Yeah. It was another Silver Falls.
It was the Silver Falls fresh hop hazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had a lot of fresh hops there. A lot of fresh hops.
Like 9 on tap.
I think more than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know it was good. Got to try quite a few of them. There was the one that I ended up going with was with the hop I had never heard of before called Crush Hop, KRUSH, not serious, Crush.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Yeah. I'm like, I want more beer with this stuff in it.
Yep. No, I had 2 samplers before you got in there, and she just gave me like 2 that were basically like Tropicana orange juice mixed with Tang.
Oh, yeah, those are the best kind.
Yeah. It's like, that's what I wanted. And then, yeah, you had like another 6 samplers or something like that before.
Yeah, because I'm like, ooh, that hop combo sounds good. Ooh, no, wait, I've never heard of that one before. Ooh, that hop combo sounds good. And they were all good. It's just I wanted the best.
Yeah. Anyway, we do have some news to get to. Oh, we haven't
done any beer shots.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Let's see. The 1KEA. Good evening, gentlemen. I drank a Coors Banquet tonight because that's all I had. Yeah, that's fair.
Coors Banquet's not bad every once in a while.
Yeah. Are either of you familiar with Monarchy Hop from Maryland? It's a genetically unique hop strain. I have not heard of that before.
I have not heard of it either. I mean, usually because we are in the hop capital of the world, most of the hops come from here, and all the new ones.
Yeah, it's either us or Washington.
Yeah.
So I will give Washington its due. So, John Jay is drinking a Sparkle Puff Galaxy Starfighter Defender of the Universe by Flying Monkeys Craft Brewery, a triple IPA, 10.2%.
Wow.
That reminds.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was 10 divided by 2. So it's only 5%.
Yeah, only 5%. Hey, you can have 2 of those, John. Go for it. Novella Hubs got an Indeed Brewing Fruit Cult Imperial Ale, Raspberry, Blueberry, and Blackberry, 10% ABV.
My goodness.
There's some kind of rough day that I wasn't aware of because I'm seeing a lot of doubles and triples coming out.
Yeah, there's some big percentages out there.
Michael's got a Chimay Piers Tapestries. Yeah. Grand Reserve Belgian Strong Dark Ale, 9%, 3.9
nice.
On Untapped.
I love good Belgians.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Patch is drinking a Pep Talk Lager from Bearded Iris, 4.2% out of Nashville, Tennessee. Brett's got an Old Fashioned with Chipotle bitters. That sounds wonderful.
Chipotle bitters, huh?
Actually, one of my favorite things that I was digging on for a while, and I think I still have them. I have a small bottle of Thai bitters from Bitter Housewife.
Oh.
That I make an Old Fashioned with.
I was just thinking, because I just dehydrated some Thai chilies.
Oh.
So I wonder, I can get some bitters and then just soak it in some Thai chilies.
Yeah, just soak it in some Angostura. And
see how that tastes.
Yeah.
That might be interesting.
Jason's having a Sun River Brewing Cocoa Cow Chocolate Milk Stout. That is a fantastic local.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're out of Sun River, Oregon, just south of Bend. Let's see. Reverend's cracking into an Excelsior Imperial Apple Pie Cider from Schilling Cider, Seattle, Washington. 8.4%, 4.09 on Untapped.
Wasn't that one of your wife's favorites?
Was
it the apple pie one, or was it
the apple? Yes, yeah, that is one of my wife's favorites. Schilling makes the gosh, is it the Gose? No, it's the mule. It's the Moscow Mule inspired one.
Oh, right, yeah.
That is her favorite from Schilling. Yeah,
I can see why. Moscow Mules are delicious.
Yeah, but no, Schilling is fantastic. They're one of our favorite cideries. Let's see, we got time for one or two more. Harley picked up a 4-pack of 1050 from Oscar Blues. That is a fantastic 4-pack.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
Let's see. Cyano. Made myself a bowl of Alaska noodles, topped off with a glass of hand-squeezed lemonade. And then Skull. Confluence Brewing, batch 2083, hazy double IPA. Nice. Nice.
All good choices.
Yes. Well, I'll accept that banquet beer that we started with.
Yeah. I mean, that's yes. He did say it's all he had.
No, I'm kidding. Drink what you like.
Yeah.
Drink what you like.
No, I have some banquet beer sitting in the back of the fridge just whenever I want something light and crisp.
Yep.
But it's getting cold now, and so it's probably going to sit there for a while.
See, it's not that I'm a snob for craft beer. It's I genuinely dislike a lot of domestic beers, and I
do too.
I don't use that universally. There are some like major, not your standard lagers and pilsners, not your Miller Lite, your Bud Light. I can't stand the light beers.
I can't either.
Just from a flavor standpoint.
Yeah, they taste terrible.
I think they're terrible. But I have no problem grabbing a Sam Adams lager or a Blue Moon or something like that.
Oh yeah, there's some craft lagers that are absolutely delicious.
Yeah,
I don't hate on lagers. I just hate on most domestic lagers because they're quite literally garbage tasting.
Yeah. it's a race to the bottom to how cheap can you make your ingredients.
Yep.
And the same reason generic soda sometimes tastes a little bit worse than Coke.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You get the Dr. Pibb, or not Dr. Pibb, the Dr. Walmart or whatever they sell over there.
Yeah. Dr. Thunder, I think. Yeah.
I think you're right, Dr. Thunder.
Yeah. It's not one of those stuck-up sodas that needs a doctorate. Just
it wants to be. It wants to be more than a doctor. It wants to be a cool doctor. Dr. Thunder.
That's right.
He's like a wrestler, but a soda.
Well, there's Dr. P, but he's just a chiropractor.
Dr. P. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Whew, that'll wake you up and clear your sinuses.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we do have some news to get to, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll start with a little bit of Intel Arrow Lake talk, as Arrow Lake reviews went live this last week, and most sites don't look at Arrow Lake too favorably. And
it doesn't look like it.
And I completely understand why. But I also think that this is the move that Intel had to make. I don't think that this is quite Intel's Zen moment. But I think this might be the first step towards that. What I mean. Arrow Lake 15th gen Intel desktop. Can we just call it 14th gen, because Raptor Lake Refresh I don't think should count. 15th gen Intel desktop is a complete departure from the groundwork that has been laid basically since Nehalem, since 2008. The original Core i7 920. This is the first major departure and major revision of architecture that they've had since then. As such, there's going to be some growing pains. This is a completely new way of thinking. Gone are the monolithic dies. Intel is tiles all the way down, but they're not implementing tiles or chiplets the way that AMD is implementing them, where AMD simplified their entire product stack top to bottom. AMD makes 4 chips now.
Yeah.
And they just sell them different ways. They make one I/O die that goes on basically everything. And then they make a variety of CPU chiplets. They make a 5, they make a 5C, they make a 4, they make a 4C. And that's kind of it outside of their graphics department. They just put them together in different ways and bin them in different ways to get different combinations of CPU. And it works quite well. And especially when your bins are very, very good, your returns are very, very good. Yeah. You don't have to engineer 100 different components. You engineer 5 different components. And I know that's a gross oversimplification, but when you think of your product stack top to bottom, if you have engineers all working on a single chiplet design versus a GPU chiplet and a CPU chiplet, or 6 different CPU chiplets and a different I/O chiplet, it greatly simplifies your engineering tasks. Intel is not doing that. Intel is still purpose building tiles, as they're calling them, but the tiles are a specific size and they are being installed onto a substrate. So they have their giant chip itself. Then onto that, they're applying a substrate. And then onto that substrate, they are applying the chips, the tiles. Yeah. And it makes it modular. And it also makes it so you can design different tiles with different FinFET, with different architectures. And so you could have a 5 nanometer CPU with a 7 nanometer IO chip and a 3 nanometer or 2 nanometer graphics chiplet. Yeah. And that does help increase your yields. You don't have, and it also makes it so graphics can be on a more advanced substrate than your CPU design is, but they can still share the same interconnect and be essentially placed onto the same die. Intel is going to be a little bit better at latency simply because their chiplets are closer together. Their tiles are stacked closer together. They're going to be a little bit worse because they don't have quite the same bandwidth for interconnect as AMD's Infinity Fabric. There's some give and take here. But when AMD had their Zen moment, they realized in 2012 that Bulldozer and Piledriver were not going to be successful and not going to be competitive and would not scale beyond what they already did. So AMD stopped making chips for 5 years, essentially, and then came out with Zen in 2017. And Zen, while not the top dog as far as CPU performance when it came out, decimated a couple different industries that Intel had held on to, namely high-end desktop, and then later on that year, server. Completely disrupted those marketplaces to the fact that outside of Threadripper, Intel abandoned high-end desktop entirely. Like, Intel doesn't do high-end desktop anymore.
No, they used to do like different flavors of Xeons to make high-end desktops, but they don't do that anymore.
Or larger consumer chips, and so your X99.
Yeah.
Which was just a larger chip with more PCI Express, more memory channels, and everything. Intel doesn't do high-end desktop anymore because AMD destroyed that market for Intel by bringing 8-core chips. When Intel goes, oh, we can only fit 4 cores onto this. There's no possible way that we could fit any more.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Zen launches and Intel goes, I guess we could fit 6 on there. Or by that I mean 8. By that I mean 12. By that I mean 14. Suddenly they could fit more cores on there, right? But Intel can't afford to stop making chips for 5 years.
No, they'll lose so much market share if they stop doing it.
Technically, AMD couldn't really afford it either, but they did. Intel is now behind the ball as far as technology, process, speed, everything goes. They are very much second place in a lot of different markets. They were showing slides at the AMD event, which I don't think anyone has refuted, that brand new server deployments, I believe, were 46% AMD.
Wow.
Now.
That's a huge chunk of market share that they're biting into.
Think of that over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
Where it used to be like less than 1% in 2018. And so in 5, almost 6 years, they've captured half of Intel's booty.
Yeah.
But Intel had to do something, and this is them doing something. This is them coming out with a new architecture, which they've been developing for the last 3 years or so, and switching over their architecture into a new design, a completely new way of thinking about things. The problem is, when you have a new architecture, you have a lot of different optimizations that haven't been made. You have a lot of unknowns on how things are actually going to perform. You have software that isn't quite ready for exactly what you're delivering, if your hardware is even up to the same snuff. And we primarily review CPUs on the consumer space through gaming, for better or for worse. That is the benchmark that you have to hit, is you have to be competitive in gaming. And if you listen to the top reviewers, you have to be the top dog to kind of be worth a damn. Intel, with the release of the 285K, and to a lesser extent the 245K, the i5, we're actually seeing a regression in gaming performance.
Yeah, I saw that. That's what everybody's reporting.
Yeah. typically when you, as a reviewer, when you talk to Intel or AMD or NVIDIA or whatever else, they'll give you, they try to be as objective as possible while also still getting high off their own stock. When they give you canned benchmark results, they'll go, on average, we are 17% faster than the last generation. And so what they'll do with that is they'll find 5 benchmarks in which they're slower. Then they're slower than the competition and go, we lose in Ashes of the Singularity.
Yeah.
And we lose in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. But we draw even in the next, 5 benchmarks. And then we're 28% faster in like 12 other benchmarks. And so they'll give you like 10, 12, 17, 20 benchmarks.
Yeah, they'll average it out.
And they'll put 5 that are slower, and then 5 that are even, and then 10 that are higher. And they go, look, it's a line that goes up, and we're up here. And those numbers usually pan out to be pretty accurate. You can never trust them outright because it's the company saying it, and
right.
But they're usually kind of accurate. In the Arrow Lake briefing, they showed a chart, and they said, we're on average 3% faster. Arrow Lake 285K is on average 3% faster than the 14900K. So that even Intel wasn't like out there claiming, massive performance gains.
Right.
But if you look at their chart, over half of them, Arrow Lake was slower.
Yeah.
If you look at the slide that they showed the press, over half of the benchmarks, they were slower. They tried to say par, and they gave par like 3%. And then I think they only gave like 3 benchmarks in which it was like, yes, Arrow Lake is faster than the 14900K. And so Intel knew that they weren't really going to win the gaming crown. And you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think Intel has to come out and claim the outright gaming crown. As long as they're competitive price-wise. When AMD came out with Zen, they didn't say, we're the best CPU in gaming.
Right.
Only to be decimated by 20% to, Coffee Lake and Rocket Lake. AMD knew better. But what they did say is, look, if you're a professional, if you're a high-end desktop user, here's 8 cores. And by the way, we're also way more power efficient than Intel. And if you're gaming at 1440p, it's a great equalizer. Send your load to the graphics card anyway. Sure, we're 5% slower, but who cares about 5%? Like, that was their marketing spiel, and it worked because they were very honest about it. Where is my... One sec.
Oh, you gotta get something? I just gotta go find... samples.
In most of Intel's marketing of Arrow Lake, I think they've been pretty honest about what it was. They harped to us during the briefing on efficiency gains. On being more power efficient and cooler running.
I think that's what we talked about when it was about a month ago. We were talking about Arrow Lake, and they were really pushing the power consumption thing, not necessarily higher performance.
Yeah.
So they're trying to meter expectations, I think.
Yeah. So their briefing, they kind of got that message across, and I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate you not harping on like, we're going to be the best in gaming when you kind of know you're not. That's okay. But then, I don't know how many people showed this or not. We got our Intel samples, and I'm still waiting on a motherboard for mine, which is why I haven't done any Arrow Lake content. But here's the box that Arrow Lake came in, and I'll even do this. So here's the box that Arrow Lake came in. When you open the flap, made to game.
Oh no!
Made to game.
Yeah, that's marketing. That's the marketing department.
Mm-hmm. The performance you crave with the efficiency you need. And so they're still leaning into that efficiency thing.
Okay.
But
it's that's the underlying
Yeah.
That's the subline. That's not the bold text
Right.
that hits you in the
Made
face
to game.
at the performance
Yeah.
efficiency you crave. Most people, when they go gaming, it's like, I mean, yeah, I guess in some build cases you want power consumption efficiency, but for the most part, when you're doing big builds, big gaming builds, that's not what you're concerned about that much.
Right. Back to the question at hand. Is this a good move for Intel? I think Intel getting a handle on runaway power demands is definitely a good thing. Look, Intel has been competitive in gaming with the 14900K and 13900K simply because they can feed it 300 watts and gamers don't seem to care. But when AMD is doing that same thing for 140 watts, I don't feel you're competitive. I don't feel Intel has been competitive. And if we look at the whole voltage gate issue with Raptor Lake chips frying themselves,
Yeah.
Intel knew it too. Intel knew that they were flying as close to the sun as humanly possible. And they got burned for it. Which is why on a lot of my reviews, I tend to be a little bit more subjective than objective. Because you have to review things as a full package. You have to, if you just need outright performance, sure, the 14900K is fastest.
Yeah.
If you care about everything else within a PC build, if you care about power consumption, if you care about heat generation, if you care about efficiency, if you care about, there's a lot more to talk about than just game go burr.
Right. But that's the thing. It's like a lot of reviewers will use games as benchmarks.
And then the performance crown is this CPU deserves to exist, and the competitor CPU shouldn't have even been made. It's a waste of silicon.
Right. Yeah, that's what they say.
And I hate,
or what comes out to. Yeah.
And I hate reviews that are so black and white like that. I did a review this week on a mini PC, on the Geekon. I finally got my hands on a Meteor Lake PC.
Yeah.
And this is $1,000. It's $1,000 Nook, but it's the 185H. It's 16 core, 22 thread, can hold 96 gigs of memory. Only has a single M.2 drive, which is a bit of a knock on it, but has dual Intel 2.5 gigabit networking. Dude, if you need a sub 70 watt compute node in as a home server that also has Intel Alchemist graphics, so H.264, H.265, and an AV1 encode and decode.
Yeah,
this is
great. That's a
stellar deal.
Yeah,
and I got a bunch of comments saying, "Well, the MS-01 is cheaper. It's $760." And I went, "Yes, it is. That doesn't mean this is a bad product, though. Hey, the MSA1, the AMD version, is a desktop CPU, and it's slightly faster." I went, "Well, no, it's not. Benchmark-wise, the 8700G benchmarked right about the same. This uses significantly less power than the 87G does. And just because something is not the absolute performance leader doesn't mean it's a bad product. I think the 285K is a pretty decent product from the reviews that I've seen. Again, I'm waiting on a motherboard to validate my own opinion here. I think it's a pretty decent product from the reviews I've seen. It is still consuming more power than competitive Ryzen chips are.
Oh, okay.
And there's going to be some growing pains as this architecture matures. We have to figure out, hey, memory latency is going to be a little bit different here. Cache latency is going to be a little bit different here. There are some things that this architecture is going to like, and there's other things that it's going to struggle with. But I do feel it's probably a little bit too expensive. I do feel that Was it $565? I think.
Yeah, that's a bit steep for something that's. I mean, are they? I know it's their new technology. Are they trying to make it their flagship chip?
This is the flagship consumer chip. The 285K is the flagship.
They feel like they have to price it at this, even though its performance is not as good as its previous gen flagship.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
that's bold strategy.
It is faster in a lot of professional workloads. It was faster in 7-zip. It's extraordinarily faster with video encode because it has a way better video engine in it with the Alchemist graphics instead of Iris Pro. There are some major benefits to this architecture. Is it the best gaming chip out there? No. But then they put on their box, good for gaming, not good for gaming, editing, and for all your other needs, which they should have put because, it would be great to say this is a good balance. Yes, it's not going to be the best at, 4K gaming and whatever, but if you're going to use it for also video editing and for streaming and for everything, this is a good balance for all of your needs. Yeah. Probably the most efficient chip that Intel has come out with in a very long time. I mean, gaming power numbers, we're seeing power draw down into the 70 watt range, whereas the 14900K was like 180 watts. Now, that's not universal. I'm just literally throwing numbers out there, so don't quote me on that. But, there is a noticeable drop in power draw from this CPU. Still not quite to AMD's level, but
getting there.
It's in the conversation at least. They're at least paying attention to, hey, maybe we shouldn't throw 200 and some odd watts through a consumer chip. The joke about the 14900K and the 13900K was there's not a cooler that can match them. They're always thermally limited. The architecture there could go literally, it could overclock as high as you wanted, but it would always thermal throttle.
Yeah, there's no way you'd have to like stick it in a freezer or something to get it to so you get semiconductor levels of cold.
So yeah. My motherboard should be here sometime next week, although next weekend I'm heading to PDX LAN, so you'll probably see coverage from me later on. But this kind of marketing talk, AMD's guilty of this as well. And that's why they got so poo-pooed on the launch of Zen 5. Was AMD has some fantastic Zen 4 based gaming CPUs in the X3D, in the 7800 X3D, and and whatnot. And AMD themselves came out in front and said Zen 5, base Zen 5, so our 9900X and our 9950X, faster than the 7900 X3D. And then they tested them, and it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was all marketing jargon.
Right. Had AMD simply came out and said, lower power draw, better efficiency, better thermals, and a content creator's dream, Zen 5 would have been a hit. Because the gaming performance, again, wasn't the leap forward that we've seen in previous architectures. Every single time AMD has come out with a new generation of chip. So from Zen 1, not including Zen Plus, although Zen Plus was a decent step up, but to Zen 2, it's like 15%. And then Zen 2 to Zen 3, we got another 15%. Zen 3 to Zen 4, we got another 15%. And suddenly Zen 4 to Zen 5 for gaming is like 3%. And gamers went, oh, what the crap, man?
It's kind of funny. I'm like, because I was kind of curious, because we talk about in terms of gaming and leaps and bounds in our processors and stuff like that, and people wanting to upgrade. So I was curious to see what was the most watched streams on Twitch just recently. What that would require, a lot more power or anything like that. But they don't. We have League of Legends. We have Grand Theft Auto 5. We have Counter-Strike. Valorant, Dota 2, Minecraft, Fortnite, World of Warcraft, all these things.
All of these, every single game that you just mentioned, every last one can run on a 12-year-old PC.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
and not even a good 12-year-old PC.
Yeah. Number 11 is Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which is a game that just came out and probably does need, something decent
hardware,
to run.
right?
Yeah, especially if you want it to make it look good.
Yeah.
That's the 11th number. Like, people are still watching Minecraft more than they're watching, Black Ops, the latest release of Black Ops, Call of Duty.
Yeah. The other thing that always drives me nuts, and I know I'm going to get flack for this comment. I know people are going to disagree with me. Is, I'm not saying there's no value in it. Why are we testing new CPUs at 1080p low settings? I understand that susses out some differences between generations of CPUs. I understand it makes it not about the graphics card. It makes it 100% about the CPU.
Right.
I understand. Okay. I understand eliminating bottlenecks and everything else when testing out performance. But for consumer recommendation standpoints, who in their right mind is going to buy a 285K or a 9800X3D or a 9950X and game at 1080p low settings?
Yeah. People who don't know how to change settings, I guess.
Games auto-detect
your auto-detect it nowadays, yeah.
And,
I mean, there's some older games that don't, but most modern games will auto-detect now, yes.
And so, while I get it from a raw benchmark performance, and I get it from an eliminating bottleneck performance, I don't get it from a consumer recommendation standpoint.
Right.
Because that's not how you're going to be using that product in real world circumstances. It's the same way that it's the same reason I disagree for testing lower end graphics cards with only high end hardware. Is because that's not realistic.
That's not a combo that most people are going to get. They're going to do, they're going to use those for budget builds is what they're going to use it for. So you should benchmark it with the budget build.
Yeah. So I understand. I completely understand. Skull says the 1080p testing is asking why we ever did stop testing in 720p. Eventually 1080p benchmarks need to die. Correct. But what's really funny is I saw at least a couple outlets reporting 720p numbers because they needed to go down to 720p to show a difference between these CPUs, which means that anyone who buys one of these top-end CPUs, if you're gaming at 1440p, you're going to see plus or minus 1%.
Yeah.
Because there is no real-world difference. Will there be eventually, as graphics cards increase? Sure. If you're buying a 285K or a 9900X and you want to run this CPU for 5 years and you're going to upgrade your graphics card in 3 years or something like that, your CPU choice might have an impact at 1440p, but it's still only going to be a couple percentage points. And so I understand people wanting to get the best value or the best performance, but you also have to real-world test things before making a sweeping recommendation.
Yeah.
And the industry as a whole is guilty of this. And I always want to make comparisons to the auto industry, excuse me.
Yeah.
Not audio. To the audio. Good Lord. Auto industry. Automotive. There we go.
Yeah.
Because we don't just take cars to the drag strip and then make a recommendation on a van based on how it ran down the drag strip.
Right.
There's so many other things, and there are other use cases. Sometimes you will not buy a car simply because you don't like the way the door opens. That's a thing.
Or you're like driving down the street and you see this person in a little tiny midget car and you're like, I would never get that. But that might be just perfect for that person and their use case that they need to use it for. They're an little old lady or something. That's all she needs is to go to the grocery store. And that's perfect for her.
That's exactly right. But we benchmark hardware the way top it's literally hardware drag racing. I've used that quite a few times. We literally benchmark the way that top fuel dragsters go. It is what is the absolute best, what gets me the absolute best performance in this scenario. And the thing is, that scenario is not how you daily drive hardware.
Yeah. I mean, he's speaking about drag strips and computers and stuff like that. And we're talking about PDX LAN. I still remember in the old days of LAN parties and stuff like that. That was one of the things that we actually did. We would take our rigs and we would benchmark them there just to see who's the fastest, just to see. Just pissing matches. This is realistically drag strip computers.
Yeah.
Who benchmarked the highest.
Right. I still enjoy doing that. But is my point to simply be an enthusiast on this channel? Is it to show you the absolute bleeding edge performance? Or is it to demonstrate real world scenarios that would genuinely apply to you and is why I'm making a recommendation to you on which hardware to buy? If all you do is gaming and your most important criteria is performance and you game at 1080p, then you can make an argument for the way that we're benchmarking hardware today.
Yeah.
If you're a competitive gamer, competitive gaming makes up 5% of the market share.
Oh yeah, not that much. Most people do multiple things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For most people, your PC needs to be a more general driver. Sometimes you need a crossover SUV. Is a crossover SUV the best on a drag strip? No, but guess what? I can throw 3 kids in the back.
Yeah. Some people like developing on their PCs. Some people like gaming on them. Some people do that together. Some people also do video editing. They do a whole bunch of other things on their computer than just gaming sometimes. I mean, it seems like kind of a waste to put that kind of money into a computer and then only do one thing with it.
Yeah. Yep. So I think the way we benchmark needs to be shaken up a little bit. I always try to provide a real world voice of reason for a lot of my benchmarks. And I feel there's an audience out there that will watch me for that. Sometimes you just need a Honda Ridgeline of PCs. Thank you, Cos, for $2. Cosworth also says GPU driver overhead, CPU cache, multi-threading, so many variables. At 1440p, my E5 2697 V3 matches my 5800X in newer games such as Last of Us. Right. There are a lot of circumstances where your CPU doesn't matter at all. There are some circumstances where your GPU doesn't matter at all. Sometimes all people care about is, does it play? Does it run?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm playing games, that's honestly all I care about.
I get a little miffed when I see some frame skips and stuff like that, but
if it's distracting enough, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's funny because I watch my son play because he has pretty much run of the mill over here when it comes to what he wants to play on. And there's a couple times because he likes playing Teardown. But since I have the most powerful PC here, he'll come and kick me off and says, "Dad, I want to play Teardown in your computer."
Speaking of a game that will actually melt your PC.
Yeah, that's the game. I'm like, all right, you can play Teardown on my PC. That's fine.
If you want a CPU benchmark, how many blocks of TNT can you blow up in Minecraft? If you want a GPU benchmark and a CPU benchmark, download Teardown and download the Thanos Snap mod.
The Godzilla mod where he destroys everything with his nuclear blast.
Yeah, the nuke is a good one, but no, the Thanos Snap mod. I don't know if you've seen this one.
I don't know. I don't think I have.
Okay, there's a mod for Teardown. That literally just raises your hand up in front of you, and then your cursor points to something, and then you snap. And what that does is it breaks it down into 1-inch voxels. Whatever object you just looked at goes and turns to sand. Turns to sand.
Yeah.
But every voxel is physically rendered.
Right.
And has physics that apply. And so when all those thousands of voxels start running into all the other voxels it just created, things happen.
It goes to nothing. yeah.
And
Things
so
start melting.
And so if I walk up to a mailbox and I snap, it goes, and you go, oh, that was really cool. And if you walk up to a truck, and let's say I'm blazing by at 140 frames per second, and I walk up to a truck and I snap, all of a sudden that truck turns to individual voxels. I'll drop to like 30 FPS on a 13900K with a 3080 or 3090 attached to it. 30 FPS. Okay? If I turn to a building and I snap, I will go down to sub 1 frame per second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you'll be waiting for like 5 minutes for it to finally come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're right. It's all willing what you're willing to tolerate, and yeah, because I remember in the past it didn't bother me so much, but now it kind of does. Now that I'm used to more smoother frame rates and stuff like that, and higher refresh rates and stuff like that. Going back down, you do notice it, but back then it didn't really care that much.
And the thing is, most consumers trail behind when it comes to monitors. High frame rate monitors didn't become affordable until literally just about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's a real recent thing.
And so, it's not that there weren't 140 hertz monitors or 120 or even 90 hertz monitors going back to 2019, 2020. It's that they were $600.
Well, I still remember that a lot of like towards the end of the CRT era, it was pretty default for most CRTs to be 90 hertz.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had the dual Sony Trinitron 21-inch CRTs with 90 hertz.
So did
Those
I.
things were great. Those were great.
Yep. 1280 by 1024, 90 hertz, or 1600 by 1200 if you were willing to drop to 75.
That's right. Yeah. But I hated having to move those things. Those things were like 50 pounds a piece. Oh, Lord.
Yep. But it's not like high frame rate gaming has been ubiquitous above 60 hertz.
Right.
Until very recently, until literally the last couple years.
Yes, most people was even in the console realm, it was mostly
they just got 60 frames per second.
Yeah, just 60 frames a second.
4 years ago
is now the norm. Yeah, it's kind of now the norm now. Because they mostly played it on TV, and TVs were running at 24 hertz.
Right.
Because that's what most movies
No, TVs are 60 hertz displays.
Oh,
all TVs are 60 hertz displays, because that's NTSC frequency.
Well, but most film movies used to always play at 24
film was
frames a
filmed
second.
In 24, but that was a limitation of reel to reel.
Correct.
Unless you got really fancy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't until I mean, think back to popular games of the last generation. Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild ran at 22 frames per second.
Yeah.
22 FPS. And people are bitching about a low of 90 on PC. You know what? I played Breath of the Wild on the Switch, and I played the hell out of it, and I loved every minute.
It's fine. It's fine.
Because it was consistent. But the thing that we're also missing is we all always turn on frame sync in some way, shape, or form too, because of variable refresh rate.
Yeah,
which is a frame
or
sync
free
technology.
sync or G sync, whatever kind of sync technology we're using. Yeah,
which means you're capping your FPS.
Yeah, you're putting it at a certain spot.
Right. Monitors can only sync up to the point, up to their max frame rate. And so FreeSync Premium monitors, if you have a 144 FreeSync Premium monitor, your variable refresh rate range is between 40 and 144, which means your game will put a cap at 144. So if you have a graphics card that's capable of 280 FPS, you're not getting that performance. You're capping at 144.
144. But if it's going above that 144 consistently, you're getting a consistent 144 frames to be displayed to you.
Yeah. No, the game's not even rendering above 144. It will stop rendering and start working on the next frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Which actually is a better and more efficient way for your graphics card to work anyway.
Yeah.
And
that's why everything looks super smooth when it's like that way. Yeah.
But we come back, bring the conversation back around to benchmarking and whatnot. We're benchmarking CSGO at 380 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
No one's playing it at that.
No, yeah, no one is. I mean, I don't even think I think 240 is what the highest monitor is right now.
Oh no, there's 360. There's even a couple 480s that are out there on the market. Those are $1,000, but
yeah.
They exist.
No, I think I remember the last time we went to CES. I think it was 240.
240 was coming out. Although last time we went to CES, they were demoing at the NVIDIA booth a 1,000 hertz monitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's 2020. That's quite a few years ago. It's 4 years ago already.
Yeah. But yeah. So even by the definition of gamers, if you have to drop to 1080p to see a difference in your CPU, because 1440p, the difference doesn't exist. If you have frame sync enabled, you're not rendering above 144 or 240 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we complaining about? A difference of 1%? And is that worth lambasting an entire product line for? Or does that product line exist to also do other things well? Because you know what? AMD CPUs don't have quick sync, don't have video encode decode. Maybe someone needs encode decode in their workflow. Right. Maybe they don't like NVENC.
Right. Maybe
they like quick sync better. Maybe there's a particular program that they use that relies on that. What if they're also a developer and they constantly have to compress and decompress things? So your 7-zip tasks. Guess what? 7-zip was a little bit faster on Arrow Lake than it was on the 13900K.
Where is the Facebook Farmville benchmark?
Right.
Come on. Your grandma wants to play it at high frame rates. We need to benchmark. We need to benchmark all the Wordles and the different Facebook games.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm not sitting here defending Intel and coming out and marketing, hey, built for gaming. Right. Says it right on my marketing materials right here. First thing I see when I open the package of the CPUs. Here's the Intel box again.
Yeah.
Just to show everyone what I'm talking about. Here's the Arrow Lake box. Made for games. Guess what's right under it? 2 CPUs. I'm not saying, oh, we're being too hard on Intel and they're trying their best. What I'm saying is, maybe the way we benchmark isn't telling the full story.
Or maybe their marketing is a little off kilter.
And their marketing's probably a little off kilter because Arrow Lake is definitely slower in gaming than the 14900K. It is a regression across the board. There's a couple things that are faster, but there's a lot of things that are on par or slower. Yeah. But so we could say the same thing about Zen 5 as well. It was 3% better across the board. So
and they should push the pros in their marketing and not the negatives.
Yeah. Yeah. So real world testing is a much more difficult thing to do.
It is, because you got to find the use case for things.
You have to find the use case, and then you have to form an opinion. And you can't just let the numbers talk.
How's it going to run on my 256 table access database from 1995 that I have to use in my everyday work?
That sounds very single-threaded, Steve.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You and I know that there's some people out there that have to do that for their work every day.
Mm-hmm. Jack says, Craft Computing, don't have to like a product line, but I will still take people getting upset about it and not buying it. Because it is better than the alternative, like gamers when they just buy it anyway. You're talking like they do with NVIDIA graphics cards, where everyone refuses to buy AMD and Intel simply because the top dog is the 4090, and they feel that by buying any graphics card that's associated with that, they're getting the best value possible, even though reviewers have done nothing but absolutely shit all over the RTX 4060 and RTX 4070 since their launch. When there are very, very good alternatives out there for less money in the 7900 XT, 7900 XTX, even the Intel A770, A750. Those are fantastic cards that no one is talking about. because they're not the best. And we as reviewers have said it's the best or nothing.
Yeah.
So no one buys them. One of my main gaming rigs here in the office still runs on a 6900 XT. And you know what? It runs circles around 4060 and 4070 based cards. Or at least matches a 4070 or 4070 Ti.
Yeah, I was watching it was a video I saw a couple days ago, and it was a comparison of, because RTX, the ray tracing part of the NVIDIA cards have been out for a while now. And when it first came out, there was a big like performance hit with the 2000 series, the RTX 2000 series. Whenever you turn RTX on, there was a huge performance hit. And people were like, well, you know what, the technology behind it, it's going to really help, revolutionize gaming. It's going to help with the rendering. It's going to look so much better when it's fully matured. And so now we're here 2 generations later. He kind of did a review on, is it better now? What is the difference between RTX on and RTX off? And I thought that there would be better examples of like, just you can tell the difference between whether RTX was on, RTX was off. And I watched the video, and maybe it could be compression that's going on YouTube, but honestly, a lot of the stuff that was happening on screen, I did not see that much difference, to be honest. Now, maybe if RTX gets more adopted, development cycles get a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about rendering engines and rendering shadows correctly and all kinds of things like that, because RTX will take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
You can just model a room, put a lighting in there, boom, you're done. Maybe that was the idea. But it's 2 generations down and they're still not there yet. People are still making games the exact same way as they did before.
Yep.
And yeah, that's still, you're right. That opens up other cards. I think some AMDs do ray tracings too. They still don't do it to the efficiency that NVIDIA does, but yeah, they're perfectly viable. And the arc that came out from Intel, I know we went and did a swap. I didn't grab it, but I'm still curious to see how the arc would perform. I would like to try it.
I almost made you just take the arc.
I did. Okay. If you let me borrow it for a while, and I could just use it at home for a while, I definitely would do it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to be playing at the LAN party. I just didn't want to be stuck there if something like didn't work for some reason. It was just like, that was my only thought, honestly. But
so,
yes,
Steve is borrowing a graphics card from me for his LAN rig, and originally I gave him a 3070 to borrow, and then I realized that I also gave him the Fractal Design Terra, and the 3070 Founders is a pass-through card, and so it would be feeding all the heat directly into his power supply.
Yeah,
and
that wouldn't be good.
That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
I wanted it to live. And so I went, hey, let's meet up for a beer, and I'll bring a replacement graphics card. And so I brought a 2080 Ti and the A770, and I said, hey, I've got a choice for you. Either one of these. And he goes, well, I'm taking the 2080 Ti, definitely. No hesitation. I almost only brought the A770 just so I could make you run it.
I would, because I have no experience with it. That's the only reason. I am curious about it.
Yeah.
If I had it for just like something I could play with and mess with and have more confidence in, because that's part of the reason why people just get NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Because they have high confidence in it, and that'll work. And there's a lot of people that have used it and they just know it. So when a new thing comes in, like you said, yeah, nobody's talking about it anymore. If more people were talking about it, people might have more confidence in it. The same thing, I would like to mess with it just to see. In fact, after the LAN party, if you want to sell it to me cheap, I might just buy it off you just so I can mess with it.
I'll let you borrow it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I'll borrow it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to try it out just to see how it works.
Yeah, try it out. Let me know how it works.
Yeah.
And maybe I can make a video on, running an A770 in 2024. How does it work?
Sure.
give me some long-term results on it.
Yeah. It'll play Team Fortress 2 really well.
That's right. How's it doing teardown though? That's the ultimate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's that. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Actually, I will let my son put it through its paces.
There you go.
Through teardown.
There you
Absolutely. Go. He goes nuts with the mods, and so we'll see how it does. Wow. We spent a whole hour on just one article. I'm already ready for my second beer. How about you?
I was just finishing up mine. I've got a couple minutes left on mine. So.
Oh yeah, you do. You went slow.
Yeah. But no, what's your next? Oh, that's right. Your coffee and cigarettes.
Coffee and cigarettes. I'm excited about this one. I want to get a hint of Marlboro Reds in this. And drink it. I want it to remind me of the 80s.
Does it have a menthol crush in it, or?
It's got a. I want to see a burnout, stub of a cigarette pour out when I
thunk
something coming out there. Instead of like John and his moldy strawberry that comes out, it's like a cigarette butt that comes out. Oh, it smells wonderful though. Oh, that is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smokiness is very subtle.
Nice.
But it's definitely there. Lots of coffee. And a good like malty flavor to it. This is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the next beer? Sex and Candy. I don't know what that would taste like.
Yeah. Well, we do have some other news to get to. In gaming news, I know we just spent 50 minutes on the 285K. We really didn't cover anything about the 285K either. It was more like review talk.
Yeah, kind of what it was.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, again, I feel my job is to inform the consumer, and I like to do it a little differently. So, peek behind the curtain. Let's see. Lisa Su teases RDNA 4 release as gaming revenue drops by 69%. Not so nice. So
you know the actual drop was 59.4. And they're like, let's just round it up to 69, shall we?
69? Yeah.
They did that.
Well, when it drops by 69%, that's not so nice.
No, it doesn't.
But anyway, in a recent earnings call, Lisa Su said that, CEO of AMD put an end to most claims, while the initial predictions pinned AMD's best future graphics card at the end of 2024. AMD now confirms RDNA is on track for launch in early 2025. And honestly, for AMD and NVIDIA both, like, everyone's going, oh, next week, the 5090's coming out. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I always felt like CES would be the next big launch for both companies' graphics cards. CES this year is, I think, going to be pretty lit. So...
Are we going to have any plans to go, or maybe not?
I'm hoping to go. So
yeah.
I should probably start looking at booking tickets. You want to go?
Dude, I had a blast the last time. That was
sweet.
Like the best time.
Let's frickin' do it.
I want to do it.
All right. So yeah, let's see if we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
Because I was planning on going, regardless.
Screw Rhett and John.
Yeah. They have to work or whatever.
That one time because John has actually never been to Las Vegas before. He's never been. And that one time he was going to go, he was so excited.
Yeah.
And I was excited for him.
Yep.
But it just didn't manifest.
Yep.
That's such a bummer.
Yeah, that sucked.
I know.
That sucked a lot. Yep. So instead we went to a brewery and...
Yeah, well... It's like it's kind of like Vegas if you were just stuck in a brewery in Vegas.
Yeah, but it's not Able Baker.
No. I am actually looking forward to going back to Able Baker.
Yeah,
I love that place. That was good.
I think we got to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should see if we could do the show from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, no, that was the plan. John and I had Able Baker booked for doing the podcast from.
Oh, did you really?
We did. I forgot about that. Yeah, I had to email them and say, sorry, change of plans.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we had it booked for the evening.
Oh, no wonder why he was so disappointed.
Yeah.
I've been talking up Able Baker to John for like years now.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot about that. No, so we were supposed to go to DEF CON last year, and we ended up missing our flight between traffic and a couple other issues. We showed up to the airport and they would not issue us a ticket. We were still 40 minutes before the plane took off, and the desk agent would not let us go through security. It was like, I can see our gate. It's right there. It's not like we have a long walk. And they said, no, we're not going to let you run. We're not going to let you try. It sucked a lot.
Yeah.
But no, I had completely forgotten until literally just now that we had booked Able Baker to do the podcast from that night. Oh, we were going to fly into Vegas and we were going to do Able Baker podcast.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Ducks everywhere. We're going to have ducks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be duck cast.
Yeah. So, Tanmay wants to know, anyone planning on buying Red Dead Redemption 1? Don't.
No, not yet. To be honest, I haven't even played Red Dead Redemption 2 yet.
$20, I'm a buyer.
Yeah.
$30, I'm hesitant. $50, go fuck yourself, Rockstar.
Yeah. It's like it's also like I haven't read any reviews on it yet, or performance wise what it is, because I mean obviously the reviews have been out for a while because people played the game. They know what the game's about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what is new. Does it look good?
It's
the
not a remaster. It's not a remake. It is a direct port.
No, I thought, because like the whole rumor mill going around was that they couldn't port Red Dead Redemption, the original, because it was such spaghetti code that they couldn't get it to port to PC.
That is also correct.
So did they magically find a way to do it? Is there like an emulator wrapper on this thing? What is going on?
I don't think it's an emulator wrapper, but there has been so much progression in essentially wrappers. We can translate almost any graphics API into almost any other graphics API now.
Right.
We can run binaries on almost any kernel now. Mm-hmm. You can run Windows binaries on Mac. You can run Linux binaries on Windows. You can run Windows binaries on Linux. Yeah. We have all of the framework set up to do all of this live translation now. Yeah. It's hard to say with absolute certainty what this is and what it isn't. Mm-hmm. What this isn't is a remaster that has been natively created for the PC. Yeah. What this is likely I doubt it's a full decompilation. I bet it is some kind of interpreter that is running some of the instructions, likely from the PS3 version. So maybe a PlayStation 3 Lite emulator, or at least some POSIX translations to read some of the PS3 binaries, but reading the native, graphics and things like that. Yeah, that's my guess.
But at $50, that it shouldn't be.
At $50, piss right off.
If they did a remaster, and it was like same graphic level as Red Dead Redemption 2, the same effort that was put into it. Yeah, $50.
If it was ported to the RDR2 engine, which is a far superior engine.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, this does not seem like that, and they're charging $50.
Yeah.
So yeah, given my backlog, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
On my deathbed, maybe.
The pricing is not palatable. A lot of people are advocating for sailing the high seas. That's the thing, is piracy is almost always an availability problem, except when it's a pricing issue. So, hey, Paramount, you're going to pull Star Trek off of your platform when the only reason I subscribe to Paramount Plus is so I can watch Star Trek. I have a Plex server and an internet connection. Like,
I'm going to get all the Star Treks.
Right.
I will spend an extra $100 for a bigger hard drive and put everything Star Trek on that thing. Mm-hmm. No problem.
In fact, I have maybe heard of the fan AI upscale for Deep Space Nine. It's good. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
It's not quite Blu-ray remaster of TNG, but it's still
it's pretty good.
It's way better than anything that we've ever gotten for DS9 before, because if you've ever seen like the season releases for DS9, because it was released on DVD, they're all color graded super dark. Like you can't see half of what's going on, and that's someone
just did a real poor transfer.
Really poor transfer. And that's not how I remember watching them on the TV growing up. Like you could see what was going on in the dark cave scenes. They weren't dark and broody, like is coming across, in this. But the AI remasters, they're really good and they're really sharp.
It's good.
Yeah. I do view piracy as a form of protest. So $50 for a 14-year-old game that you paid a company $100,000 to port over, and you're going to make like $7 million from. I'm not giving you a dime for that. You put zero effort in, and you're delivering the same product you delivered 14 years ago.
I still have binders full of like burned DVDs and CDs and stuff from the past when it was hard to get, a decent priced game.
Mm-hmm.
And, they stopped putting out demos, right? And so you would go to the store and pay $60 for a game just to take it home and find out it was garbage.
Yeah.
So, people started pirating. And then it wasn't until Steam came out that it was like, not only was it easily available, it was starting to get cheaper.
Yeah.
So I don't pirate games anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in years. So it's a pricing and availability issue.
Yep. And don't tell me you're pirating the game just to see if it runs on your PC. You're full of crap. You're pirating the game to pirate the game.
I know.
But like I said, I do see piracy as an availability issue. Hey, I literally cannot buy this thing from you, so it's your choice to not take my money, so I'm not going to give you my money.
Right.
But I'm still going to get the thing. I feel that's a form of protest. I feel that, hey, $50 for a 14-year-old game that has zero effort made to make it a modern experience.
Correct.
I feel that's a valid form of protest. We're now, at the end of the day, we're still talking about an entertainment product, and so it's kind of hard to get all righteous and
true,
full of yourself like I said, on what your rights are as a consumer. But
like if this and this, I was kind of contemplating this. The releases of games and stuff like that weren't as fast and quick as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are literally thousands upon thousands of games that come out per year now. Whereas before you would get like maybe a couple hundred.
Yeah.
So the price for entertainment is really like stretched thin now because there's so much out there. There's so much garnering your attention that these cash grabs just seem way more obvious. Red Dead Redemption, the first one, obviously a cheap flip, charging $50. It's an obvious cash grab. And so people like me who have bought a whole bunch of games that I've never even touched yet, why would I want to spend $50 on this on a old game that I have all these other ones that I want to touch first?
Yep.
Not going to do it.
Yep.
Just not going to do it.
If it was $20, it'd probably be in my library right now.
Maybe, yeah, probably. Yeah, if it was applicably priced, I would definitely pick it up.
Yep. Alice chimes in, $2. Thank you very much, Alice. Keep circulating the tapes. Yeah. Raphael says, have you guys seen the JSU Sense? We found the missing Intel performance in games. Big performance gains. They overclock the E-cores and cache in the 285K. I haven't watched that video yet, but I did see it come up on my timeline, so I might give that a look. I was curious if what he did. So overclock the cache and the E-cores. The thing about the E-cores, E-cores got a massive shot in the arm this generation. Gone is the Alder Lake generation E-cores, and what is it now? Gracemont E-cores? Is Cheese still in chat? Cheese, if you're still watching, what is the E-core on Arrow Lake? Can never keep it quite right. But they got a massive performance boost from Raptor Lake. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see those results. Like I said, I had seen that video pop up, but I hadn't really explored it that much. And Cheese is deep into his whiskey.
He's deep in his cups.
Yeah, no, that's and the thing with Intel, the thing with Intel's design is there's so much going on there. Like I said the same thing of Meteor Lake in this review. Skymont, thank you. Gracemont was the previous one. The Meteor Lake review that I just did on the 185H, there are performance cores, but the performance cores are not equal. Two of the 6 performance cores will boost to 5.1. The other 4 will only boost to 4.8. There are efficiency cores, which will boost to 3.8. And then there are 2 low power efficiency cores, which will boost to 2.5. None of them will boost to full performance if the CPU is under 100% utilization. You get performance of like 3.8 to 4.1 on the P cores at 70 watts, and then it even drops off from there when you drop to 45 watts on your P cores. Your E cores will touch 3.8, but most of the time they're hitting like 3.6. But then they'll drop to like 3.0 or 3.1 at 45 watts. And then I never once saw the LPE cores hit 2.5. Most of the time they were at 2 gigahertz, but more often than not they were at 1.1 gigahertz. But all 3 of those cores function very differently from one another. They all have different cache. They all have different L2 cache, although shared L3 cache, but the L3 cache is shared in different blocks. So it's it's a very complex architecture. And so simply seeing that Jay has had some massive success getting more performance simply by overclocking the E-cores, which probably no one really thought to do, because they're not the performance cores, they're the efficiency cores.
No, yeah. You want to leave those alone, typically.
Right. But, hey, a gain's a gain, right? And any gain is performance add. And depending on how the scheduler in Windows works, could lead to more performance, even if it's just upclocking your base system a little bit. Guys, don't kill Cheese. I need him to put a server in my colo. John says, don't worry about Cheese. He has floaties on. He should be fine. He's deep in his whiskey. He's in his floaties. So he's got the arm floaties. That'll keep him safe in the whiskey. Making an E-core into a P-core? I mean, the E-cores still are down on L3 cache significantly from the P-cores, but you know, if you can get 4.5 out of an E-core instead of 3.8, that's a gain.
Yeah. A gain's a gain.
A gain is a gain. A toll is a toll, and a roll is a roll. If we can't get no tolls, then we can't eat no rolls. Robin Hood Men in Tights. Little John.
I haven't watched that movie.
Little John made that up.
Yeah, I haven't watched that movie in forever.
Apple released some new products. One of which in particular I am very excited for. The Mac Mini got a new form factor. First new form factor in like 14, 16 years. I think 2008, Mac Mini went over to the unibody aluminum form factor.
Right.
Or no, 2010. 2010. So 14 years. And 14 years, same form factor, unibody aluminum. It is all new. And not only is it all new, it got some of the best processors that are out there. It got the M4 and the M4 Pro. Didn't get the M4 Max. That would have been too cool. But M4 and M4 Pro. And holy crap, I can't wait to get my hands on one of these. I am a day one buyer of a Mac Mini. I have a Mac Mini here behind me on my desk. That's actually what I use for my 3D printing stuff. And I actually use a Mac Pro, my Mac Pro trash can 2012.
Oh yeah, the trash can
Mac
one.
Pro. I use a trash can Mac Pro for all of my merch. It handles my laser cutters.
Hey, that's great. Yeah.
So I've been looking to upgrade both of those for a little while. And I think I'm going to grab a Mac Mini or two. But the new Mac Mini, it's like a quarter the size of the old Mac Mini. It's about Apple TV sized. Now, one thing I'm a little disappointed with is the old Mac Mini was 1.4 inches tall, which means it fit into a 1U server space. The new Mac
but
Mini
it's taller now.
The new Mac Mini is 2 inches tall, which means it no longer fits in a 1U space. Which means I now need a U.5 if I want to rack mount like 5 Mac Minis across the center of. Yeah. But I am curious to see what rack mount solutions exist, because this may be a pretty killer solution to do some virtualization with. Now, again, it's ARM cores, it's not x86, but you can run Windows in VMware Fusion on there. And so you can also run Linux VMs. It might be interesting to see what exactly happens with this. Or there's also native apps, like Plex has a native server for ARM Macs. Maybe throw a Plex server onto this thing, see what happens.
And see what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only $600.
Yeah. $600, 16 gigs of RAM, 10 cores, 10 GPU compute.
It's not bad. But then you have to deal with Mac.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you don't have to. You can use it for the hardware.
Yeah.
Which I've never really done, but.
Yep. 2.2 times the graphics performance and 1.8 times the CPU performance over the M1 Mac Mini model. The other Jeff needs to make an M4 Mini cluster. I need to make an M4 Mini cluster. Like I know Gearling's all about, the SBCs and mini clusters and Raspberry Pis and ARM PCs and whatnot, but I do love me a Mac Mini. That has always been a form factor that has a very soft spot in my heart. The M4 Pro version comes with up to 14 CPU cores and 20 GPU cores.
20 GPU cores, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That would make quite the stellar Plex box if you were to convert one of those into a Plex box.
Yeah, that's what we call overkill.
That is a lot.
Yeah. But 5 USB-C Thunderbolt 5 compatible ports. Thunderbolt 4 ports, with the Pro model gaining Thunderbolt 5. Thunderbolt 4 can handle 40 gigabit per second connections. Thunderbolt 5 can offer 120 gigabit per second connections. So lots on offer there. I think they still only have gigabit networking though.
So you have to do all your big connections through Thunderbolt.
Right. In fact, let me.
Yeah, all models have HDMI gigabit Ethernet, so it's only gigabit Ethernet.
Yeah. Yeah, gig. See, on the previous Mac Mini, they offered a 10 gig update. Oh, there is 10 gig.
Yeah, there's a 10. It's upgradable to 10 gig. Yes.
Yeah, so $100.
$100 extra.
I think that's a solid upgrade.
Well, yeah, for 10 gigabit.
Yeah. Honestly, if I bought one of these, I don't know that I would need anything beyond the base model, 16 gigs and 256. And even if I were to rack mount those, I'd probably be using network storage for offsite storage anyway, or for, in-band storage. Yeah. Mac Mini cluster. I need someone to sponsor that video. That's an expensive project. Cluster? That's an expensive project.
It is, yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah. Because I would need 10 gigs, so it would be $700 per machine. And then I would love to stuff all of them vertically into like a 2U rack mount, because that'd be pretty cool.
That would, with a two, so you're do it vertically, and they're what, 2 inches tall?
They're 2 inches tall, so that's 19 inches. You could fit, 9 of them across?
Nine of them. Yeah, 9 of them across. Yeah. And still have a little bit of gap on each side, gap on each side, or half-inch gap.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit. That's a lot of money.
Yep. $6,300.
Yeah.
Plus your rack mount enclosure, which I'm sure someone will come up with. I'm sure Sonnet, they do a lot of rack mountable mini enclosures. That's probably another $500 for their Mac Mini solution. That's almost suspiciously reasonable for Apple. 10 for 100, 10 gigabit for 100. Yeah, no, just 3D printer is going to get a workout. Yeah, no, I would probably end up printing my own rack mount solution for them, to be sure.
Oh yeah.
Unless I got the video sponsored, in which I would definitely buy the Sonnet solution, because I've actually owned a couple of different Sonnet rack mount units for Mac Minis. They're incredible. They're incredibly overbuilt. They're also incredibly overpriced, but so is everything Apple.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ashy Linux has gotten games to work on the M1 and M2, making amazing progress. Yeah. So there are people that are working on unlocking the bootloader to be able to run Linux on the Mac architecture. In fact, they're making some pretty good progress, including building drivers that will run Vulkan.
So once you get Vulkan, you start running.
Once games. You do Vulkan, you can do Steam, you can do DXVK, and all your translation layers and everything else. So yeah.
Pretty soon, Mac's a gaming platform again.
Right?
Well, I mean, you're not loading the Mac OS, but yeah, still.
Yeah. Now, if I can get Linux to run on one of these, that would be pretty killer.
That would be.
Yeah. So, now I will definitely be picking one of these up. I don't know if it's day one or not, but I will. It's definitely on my list of things that I want to take a look at.
Well, pre-orders are out today. November 8th is not that far away.
Nope.
Yeah, can I just say that October just went really fast? Did October go really fast?
October goes really fast for me always.
October went so fast.
So some people know this, some people don't, but it's always fun to talk about. For the last 21 years, I've been a manager at a haunted house. And some of those years I was an actor. I did scaring. Some of those years I did Disneyland style photos, and so we took your photo inside the haunted house and then sold you prints afterwards. And then for the last 7 years or so, I've been the general manager. So basically general operations. That includes training of actors, and one of my primary jobs is making sure we start up on time and making sure we end on time. So, and then any problems that arise during the haunt, that is my responsibility, whether it's customers' complaints or issues, whether that's an actor needs a potty break, whether that's something broke, whether that's security, whether that it's everything. A couple weekends ago, I spent like an hour just directing traffic on the street, because that's what we needed at the time. But October always flies by for me, because I spend all of my day doing craft computing, and then from 5 o'clock until 11 p.m. every Friday, Saturday, Sunday during the month of October, I'm a general manager at a haunted house. So I end up working 6 hours over there. So
now, when you were doing it as an actor, as one of the characters, did you go as the blue screen of death?
No.
That would have been the scariest of all.
I found a lot of inspiration in Trevor from GTA 5.
Yeah. Just a deranged lunatic.
Yeah, so I can do a Trevor voice pretty well, and so that's typically what I would at least after 2010. I've always done a number of different voices, but Trevor I have a pretty good affinity for, and so I did like an axe murderer Trevor.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna chop you into tiny little pieces. So a lot of our themes revolved around like zombies during that time, and so I was a deranged lunatic who basically cut up people and fed them to the zombies. That was one of my main scares. So but we've had chainsaw murderers and
you really need to work in a Walmart parking lot Karen in there at one point in time.
Oh God.
Who screams to see they want to see the manager.
Yeah. Oh, we had a Karen to end all Karens about a weekend, maybe two weekends ago.
Oh, like a real one, not like
we
an actor.
had a Karen. Oh my God.
Oh goodness. I wasn't scared enough. I didn't shit myself.
No. Lights went out in a room and she bumped into an actor.
Okay.
And claims she was sexually assaulted.
Oh God. Okay. Jeez. Yeah, that's...
She was part of a church group that came through. And let's just say was using language unbecoming a woman, unbecoming a lady, and yelling to anyone who would hear her that she was molested and everything else. And we talked
almost like she wanted to go there for that.
It was...
She doth protest too much?
She doth protest too much.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. We had to trespass her from the property with security, and we're almost ready to call the police.
Wow. So, that bad, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I get to deal with that kind of stuff.
Not as fun as like being the actor then. Where you get to molest people when the lights turn off.
Right. Yep. IR cameras in hidden rooms. We actually don't have cameras up, but actually that was the straw that now that's a horror story. No, exactly. I'm lightly touching on the subject as much as possible because I don't want to go into details of it, but that was the straw that made the owner go, okay, this year we're putting up security cameras in every single room, at every single venue, at every single angle that we can. Like, my job over the next 6 months is going to be installing security cameras in this place, top to bottom, and making sure every nook and cranny is covered. So, because we're not going to deal with that again.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was interesting. Yeah. I get to deal security with all the drunk and high people. So like you'll come to a haunted house and you'll slam 6 White Claws in the parking lot and then go wait 40 minutes in line. And trust me, by the time you get to the front of the line, I know who you are.
Yeah. You're sitting there trying to be nonchalant with your vape pen, but everybody knows, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
You're quite loud. You're not playing this off. You're not sober. And we have protocols around how to handle, inebriated compatriots, or, and it's a non-contact taunt, so don't touch us. We're not going to touch you.
Touch you, yeah.
But if you lay hands on an actor, we're going to have a problem. If you damage my props, we're going to have a problem.
We get stripper rules here.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw, but Unify Protect now supports third-party cameras. I did see that. Yes. Yeah. So, way to call me out like that, says Rev. No, Unify Protect got an update a couple weeks ago that they now support not UVC, but UVC? Gosh, I forget the RTSP, real-time streaming protocol. And so if your camera outputs RTSP, then you can use Unify Protect with it. That was actually highly on my list to look at as a possible solution. Although Unify has also been restricting what hardware you can run Unify Protect on. They want it to be run on first-party hardware only, which is a bummer. Like, they used to be completely open with whatever hardware you wanted to use. And so as Unify has gotten more corporate, they've also gotten a little less open with things. If I can say that.
Not so unifying.
Yeah. But Mac Mini, that's the size difference.
That is crazy.
Right?
That is a big shrink.
Yep.
I mean, it looks the same, just like the Mini Me.
Uh-huh.
It's mini down.
You should call him Mini Me. Yes.
Mini Me.
I want my baby back. So we spent a little bit of time talking about Arrow Lake today, but what we didn't talk about is that apparently the Ryzen 9800X3D, the reason I mentioned it earlier in the stream, is it's probably a lot closer to release than a lot of us think, because not only are we getting more and more rumors about its existence, but someone got a hold of one and delidded one.
Oh, wow.
It's
topless. I can't see.
Yeah.
X-rated.
Weren't we just talking about stripper rules?
Yeah, that's right. Good look, but don't touch.
Yeah. So how do we know this is a 9800X3D and not some previously delidded part? Well, we already have some news on the way that this was assembled, and it's completely different than Zen 4. This, rather than putting the 3D V-cache on top of the die, on top of the chiplet, they put it underneath the chiplet. And so the top 3D V-cache is the act of stacking memory onto the chiplet for literally as close to as you can lengthwise to have low latency communication with the CPU die. This is a Zen 5 CPU on top of the memory chip. It's the 3D V-cache is underneath the chiplet this time rather than on top. And they have confirmed that with delidding one. So hey, the 9800X3D, it exists, and there it is.
There we have it.
Ta-da!
In all its naked glory.
When does it release? We still don't know.
No.
But we do know it's probably very close to release because someone has one in hand.
Yeah. Once the nudes come out, you know it's close to release, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of hype that this might potentially be the fastest gaming CPU on the planet.
That's the 3D chip, so you're expecting that.
Yep. Zen 5 with 3D V-cache. You would expect that a processor that's still got a 15% IPC, but a little higher latency in memory, might have now lower latency in memory and outcompete the 7900X3D that it's looking to replace.
Mm-hmm.
Has Jeff made a video reviewing Blue Iris and Frigate? I have not. It's not that I'm not interested in them. It's just that I haven't done it. So maybe one day. I'll do a. You know what? That might be a great video idea to do, literally for the haunted house. is show you guys what I'm setting up at the haunted house. And maybe we'll do Blue Iris, maybe we'll do Frigate, maybe we'll do Unify, who knows. And I'll show you guys the hardware and layout setup, and we'll just run through it. Hey, here's how I installed 70 cameras.
You think it's going to take 70 cameras to cover the whole area?
We have 2 haunts. There are probably not 70 cameras, but
I see, that seems a lot.
Let me think of actor position. We have 58 actors in our house.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I'm sure there's some angles that will cover multiple actors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd say we're over under probably 50 cameras, if not more, because that's just the actors that are within the haunts. What about the other 7 acres of property that's there?
Okay.
We've got concessions, we've got our ticket booth, we've got the parking lot, we've got the street, we've got pumpkin patch, we've got behind the scenes with like actor green rooms and makeup and headquarters and staff lounge area, and there's a lot of areas to cover. We've got ticket takers at the front of both lines. It could very easily add up quickly. We're probably going to go PoE cameras, and we're probably going to go as dirt cheap as possible. So I'm probably going to order like 10 different cameras and see which one we want to deploy. And then we'll buy however many we need of those. We'll probably buy a couple 24-port switches, 3 or more, and I'll be running a crap ton of Cat 6.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we'll probably run a server there on premises. And probably have it be its own isolated network, so we're not this is literally in the middle of a field, and so internet is sketchy,
spotty at best.
We did run fiber from the house that's 300 yards away, but the house is still just cable internet, so it's,
but you need a little bit if you're going to be doing like ticket sales point of
AliExpress no-name PoE camera specials, probably something along those lines.
Yeah.
And we'll probably be scanning all of these cameras that we get for backdoors, whether it's to DDNS or other services that are outside of our network. So that might be a good, fun way to see, are there Chinese Communist Party backdoors or whatever people are always afraid of, which I'm sure I have encountered cameras that do exist, that do have that.
Well, they want to know our Halloween secrets.
Maybe Starlink there. The thing is, we've already ran the fiber from the main house, and so we have internet there, so that's not a big deal.
Don't need Starlink, yeah.
Right. So yeah, the infrastructure is already in place for what we need as far as internet. What I don't want to do, though, is clog up the switches that we have there with also the communication with the cameras.
Yeah, just keep it enclosed.
Right. So keep it on its own VLAN and then have the server accessible outside of that VLAN. So if you need to access a camera, you can dial into the server
instead of having all the cameras individually.
But the camera multicast is on one VLAN.
It's just exactly.
Yeah. Wendell has a lot of videos on flashing high K cameras with custom firmware. Yes, I have seen those. So yeah, we'll probably do something along those lines. I would love to be into it for $30 or potentially even less per camera. Because while we have some budget, it is still a budget.
Yeah. 50 plus cameras is not going to come cheap.
Yeah, even I'm still spending someone's money. And so, you have to keep budget in mind.
Yeah.
We only make so much money a year. It's not like I can, deploy $1,000 PoE camera and have him be okay with that. So, yeah, should be a lot of fun. 480p for the win. I'm hoping to get 1080p cameras, if I'm being honest. 3 megabit. Like nothing too crazy high bandwidth wise.
Right.
And audio recording's a must. I want to hear audio from wherever we're at.
You need to hear the screams, the lamentations of the women.
Yeah. And then we need some hard drives to store it on. And then I also need the software to only record during certain times.
Right.
Because we're not open all the time.
And you're not open all year round. You just need it for the times you guys are, operating the haunted house.
Real Link sponsorship time. Look, for sponsored content, I'm sure Real Link might want to get in on that, but are they willing to sponsor the whole thing? Probably not. But I think my audience might be interested in, like, how do I go about setting up a budget DIY PoE camera system? So
that'd be interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, let me...
Are you looking up cameras?
Yeah. Yeah, 40, 57, 4-pack for 200, 62. It's kind of a weird environment because we kind of want them to be visible, but we also kind of don't because we don't want to take anything away from the aesthetics of the room that they're in.
You have to find a way to make them fairly hidden.
Yeah,
not so visible.
A black dome camera would definitely be preferable.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And one that will scale to a large implementation. That's exactly the point. Is we also have to be able to... We have to be able to bring in all of those cameras onto a single server. We have to encode all of those streams.
Right.
And we need to store those streams and have them readily accessible through whatever software required.
Right.
So what does that look like? Great question. I guess we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
AliExpress order of 100 cameras and 100 skulls to hide them inside.
Yeah. Well, that's apparently like what Disney is famous for.
Oh, yeah.
Because like they have cameras everywhere on all those rides, but you have no idea where they're at.
Yeah. And same kind of thing. Like you...
Yeah.
When you go to a haunted house, very similar to when you do like virtual reality or go to an amusement park, it's a suspension of disbelief.
Right.
If you see something that you recognize... in fact, here's an anecdote for you. Is when I was in high school, our band went to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And when you're on Space Mountain and you're on the roller coaster and you're whipping by things at 40 miles an hour in the dark.
And it's pitch black, yeah.
And it's pitch black or black light or whatever else.
And it's great.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
And, but... the things that are hanging from the ceiling, you're like, oh, there's like asteroids and whatnot just whipping by your face at 100 miles an hour. Until some of your band members get stuck on a ride. The roller coaster failed, and the ride stopped.
They had to turn the lights on.
They had to turn the lights on. Do you know what those hanging things were? Kitchen sponges.
Yeah.
Not kidding.
With painted with glow in the dark.
They were painted kitchen sponges.
Yeah.
Okay. Suspension of disbelief. As soon as the lights turn on, you're laughing your ass off that you see a kitchen sponge. Yeah. If you're in a haunted house that's supposed to be like a house from the 1910s or 1920s.
Yeah. And you see cameras.
And there's a white camera just like in the corner. Your suspension of disbelief is gone. Regardless of who you are, you're no longer scared.
Yeah.
So the cameras have to be hidden. The reason I tell that story is we laughed so hard about the sponge that it became the flying sponge, and the flying sponge became the end of the year awards. And so the band director would like doodle on a sponge and then like most improved, and you'd get a most improved award on a sponge, and he'd throw the sponge across the auditorium. So that was the award. It was great. Anyway, a couple more stories to get to. You know what's funny? I only had the one beer tonight.
Oh, really? So far? Oh, we have a super chat too.
Oh, I missed the super chat.
Yeah.
Low profile single slot on Amazon on the Amazonian marketplace. Probably talking the H310. I'm assuming this is from Green. $2. Thank you, Green.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Yeah. The video camera project, we will need a lot of encoding. So I'll probably be loading that up with at least a couple of A310s. Or having one server per event. And so we have two separate servers to look at. And disseminating the encoding even more, because 70 cameras is a lot.
It's a lot.
And Intel QuickSync, while it's good, it's not going to do everything on integrated graphics. And so I will need some additional horsepower there. So we'll probably come up with either one large server or a couple of smaller servers that will just run out there for camera footage. And we'll do them fairly low power CPUs and throw some graphics at it so we can do encoding. Encode and decode so you can stream out whatever you need. RTX 3050, yes. And 3050, yeah. Yeah, but NVIDIA, unless you hack the drivers, you're still limited to like 8 streams. And so I would rather actually go with an A310 or like 4 A310s, because those don't have an encoding limit. Anyway, one more story that I wanted to get to today, and I think it's something that probably should have been done a long time ago. Should have been listed and customers notified of, and that is Steam is now requiring games to disclose on the store page whether or not they use a kernel-level anti-cheat.
Yeah. You would think that any kind of software that installs something at the kernel level of the current operating system that you're using should be disclosed at the front end, right?
One would think, but no, that has not been something that has to be disclosed. The other thing is, I think game companies in general need to be a little bit more honest about
what they have
and what is installed,
like de novo and stuff like that. Yes,
right. Yeah. Now de novo's been disclosed for quite a while. It requires third-party DRM, and usually de novo is one of the disclosed ones that I see on there. And so Steam has been making sure that publishers do that. They have not been putting up notices for anti-cheat, though, and I think it's great that Steam is doing that. I think publishers should also be required, especially with the popularity of devices like the Steam Deck, to state which devices are approved or which platforms are approved for online play. And what I mean by that is, can I run this game in a virtual machine? Can I run this game on Linux without the fear of being banned? Because there are some circumstances where if it detects that you're running on Linux, you will be banned. If it's detected that you're running in a VM, you will be banned. And it's not a question, it's a simple detection.
Yeah. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong, that they're just assuming that you are.
Correct. Well, they're assuming that the possibility exists.
Exists, yeah. And they're just not going to take a chance, just like because we can't get into your kernel.
Yep. So not only does this require third-party DRM, not only does this require kernel-level anti-cheat, but I would like to see platform supported or platform approved.
Right.
We approve Windows 10 or 11, or we only approve Windows 11, or we only approve Windows 11 running on bare metal. Yeah. Like there should be some amount of disclosure to prevent players from buying a product and getting banned.
Yeah.
It's not a huge problem, but if Linux gaming continues to gain popularity, if the Steam Deck continues to gain popularity, that will be an issue.
Of course.
Yeah.
I know it's a small update, but I think an important update. Something that should have been done a long time ago.
Totally.
Yeah.
you know, things like Punkbuster and Easy Anti-Cheat and all those others.
Is Punkbuster still used?
I don't think Punkbusters. No, Punkbuster went dead.
Yeah, I remember having huge problems with Punkbuster. It always gave me grief.
Yeah, I always remember I had to have it installed for Far Cry 2. That was the last one.
It was always Battlefield 2142.
Okay, yeah,
that was Punkbuster was on that, and that one always gave me grief.
Yep. Yep. Ricochet, Easy Anti-Cheat, Vanguard, Denuvo, Battle Eye. Those are the popular ones right now.
Right.
Yep.
Which, you know, most of the time I think they don't work because every time I die, I know somebody's cheating. It's what it is.
Yeah.
They must have been cheating.
Yep. Yeah, because I don't die.
I don't die when I play a game.
Right.
When someone kills me, they're obviously cheating.
Certainly wasn't my fault.
Yeah. That's what I did. I was perfect.
That's what your mom always told you.
Yeah, that's what she said. Are you winning, son?
Fun. Let's see. We got a couple minutes left. Anything that we talked about strike a nerve, or anyone have any questions, suggestions, comments?
Yeah.
We got a couple minutes left.
Novella Hub was asking for beer news, but we did have one beer news, but we can't bring it up because it's behind Instagram, and Instagram doesn't want us to see it unless you can verify that you're 21.
So yeah, John had posted on there that Goose Island Bourbon County Stout, they have confirmed that there will be a single barrel edition coming out. I can't tell you any more than that because I can't open the Instagram post because you have to be 21 to see it, and I don't have an Instagram account.
I mean, but single barrel, I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, there's been lots of bourbon barrel stuff.
Yep.
But single barrel, pretty interesting.
Yes.
I do, when I do enjoy my bourbons and whiskeys and stuff, I do like single barrel, typically over a blend.
Yep.
But I don't know how that's going to translate to a beer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to make it a difference, to be honest.
Yep. Zach Yakto says PDX LAN and Extra Life. That's right. PDX LAN is next weekend.
That's right. We are going to be there.
Yep.
Me, Jeff. I think John's going to show up for a day.
John's going to show up for a day. Yep.
Rhett is not going to make it this year. Or this time.
Yep.
I don't think. But yeah, at least 3 of us are going to show up.
Yep. We'll get all 4 of us there eventually.
One of these days. One of these days.
But yeah, PDX LAN this next weekend. If you're attending, please come by, say hi. I like seeing people. You're not being weird. You watch me. Actually, it's okay to say hi.
It was funny because when we went and got a beer today, someone recognized Jeff.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, there was some guy that's like, "Oh, do you have a YouTube channel? I don't want to pry. I don't want to be like a weird guy."
He goes, "I don't. This is probably weird, but do you have a YouTube channel?" And I went, "I do." And he goes, "I thought your craft computer." And I went, "Yep." And he goes, "Okay, well, I'm done being weird now." It's like, no, what do you want to talk about,
dude? You're fine. It's fine, dude. It's fine.
But yeah, no, I don't mind talking to people. So yeah, if you see me, you know, come over, say hi. I'm totally cool with that. I'm just a guy, you know, I put my pants on one leg at a time. But unlike you, once my pants are on, I make gold records. I mean, YouTube videos. It's just a job. Red is hiding under the stairs. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Secret Santa call out. Yes, that's right. I think we're already done with the Secret Santa signups though. So we do run a beer Secret Santa over on the Craft Computing Discord server every year. Mm-hmm. And I believe signups are now closed, but we should begin getting who your match is here in the next week or so. And then you basically have till Thanksgiving to deliver. So, Talking Heads at PDX Land or Wednesday next week. I was planning on doing it on Wednesday next week. Because PDX Land doesn't start until Thursday. Although we might be able to do a Thursday show. It's supposed to be Rhett's show, but I mean, you could be on 3 weeks in a row if we're going to be there anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
If we're just going to sit there and game and play anyway, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah. Because
make it a gaming streaming show.
The door opens at 5. And so we could get in there, we could get set up, and literally just do it from there. I mean,
yes, we could. I mean, yeah, the bandwidth there is pretty decent.
Yeah,
although
it's 10 gig.
You know, it's great, but
it's a dry event.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We do always buy some athletic.
Yeah.
Before we go in there, so we have some NA beers. We can do that. We can get some hop water.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do hop water or athletic. We could do it from there, or we could toss our equipment in there real quick and find a local tap house to do the stream from.
Yeah.
And there's the one down on 99 that we usually go to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that one's a good place too.
Yeah. And on a Thursday night they're not going to be busy. So
yeah,
that might be fun. You could always do it at ZWS. Yeah, we could head up to Yocto's and do the stream.
There we do.
More Steve, says Novella.
Yeah, great.
YOLO Colo stream. Ooh, ZWS sponsorship. We've talked about it. We've talked about a potential ZWS sponsorship on the channel. So, yeah, maybe we'll figure something out next week.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah,
if you want to do it there, if you want to do it Wednesday before and just call it good, either way, I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there anyway.
Yeah, you'll be there anyway, so you're kind of captive. Anyways. So
yeah, all the monster we can drink.
That's right. Yeah, it'll be a Monster Energy show. There we go.
Yeah, the Monster Energy show. Because I literally saw people had towers of Monster Energy drink around their rigs.
Yeah.
At the end of the thing, they literally had towers.
Yeah, they stack them as badges of honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were just going to take it back to, because it's in Washington.
Yeah.
So they get free Monster Energy drinks. Take them back to Oregon, where they get the 10 cent.
Get your 10-cent deposit, right?
You basically could, if you drink enough Monster Energy drink, you could pay for your seat.
That's way too much. You would die.
I don't know. 10 cents.
It's $165 a seat.
And if you get more people, if you take other people's, if you ask them for their bottles, you could. You probably could.
It's 1,500 cans, Steve.
Bring a truck.
I mean, to be fair, it's an 800-person LAN, and so that's 2 cans per person. You could pay for one seat.
Yeah, you just have to go around and ask for the empty cans.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you'll have to be a beggar, but I think you could do it.
I think you could do it.
Whew.
Meanwhile, you're going to the bottle drop going, where did you get all these Monster cans from?
As you go walking around like you're addicted to Coke. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just found them. What are you asking me all these questions for?
Skull says, incoming federal crime for exploiting can deposit across state lines.
Yeah.
I believe that'd be a state-level crime, unless it wouldn't be a federal crime. Because it's Oregon that offers the deposit. The state of Oregon offers a deposit.
Yeah.
So it would be a state-level crime. Although technically that may be fraud crossing state lines. So it may be federal jurisdiction as well.
I don't know.
You could be in trouble with both federal and state.
Well, that was the thing, is like you would have to if you were to use like bottle drop like we have around here, it would be associated with your name and an account. Then yes, you would probably get caught if that was a violation.
Yeah.
But if you were to go from store to store and go into their grungy deposit places one at a time, you probably wouldn't, because most places only do like $20-$30 limit a day.
Violates interstate commerce. Yep, it's fraud. And that's kind of what I thought, is we didn't pay the deposit, and so we would not be eligible to receive the deposit back. That's why it's a deposit. It's not free money.
Although I remember there was one guy, I forget who it was. Somebody had told me about a scam that they had done with the deposits, where they had literally taken a UPC code and glued it onto the end of a stick, and then went to the deposit robots and just stuck it in there and kept scanning it over and over and over and over and over and over again, even though it didn't deposit anything.
Yep.
And they got busted for that.
Yeah. I bet they did.
Yes, because that's you scan, because UPC codes, you scan the same one over and over and over again by 3,000 times, you're gonna get caught.
Yeah. Yep. So Jeff will now have memories of the beer crusher. Yeah, I used to work in a bottle deposit place at the grocery store. I was the one responsible for a lot of the bottle return machines, which is partially why I hate cheap domestic beer.
Oh, because it stinks.
Smell.
The smell is just horrific.
Of months old beer cans. Oh my God.
I mean, to be fair, months old craft beer cans aren't.
I didn't drink beer until I was 25 because I was still I was so disgusted by the taste.
Because you think that's what that's what you think it smells like, and it's ingrained into your head.
Yeah,
at that point. But that's not what it tastes like when it's freshly opened. It's what it smells like when it's freshly opened.
Well, this was also late 90s, early 2000s, maybe.
Oh yeah, when there's hardly any craft.
There's no craft beer, and so every bottle you ever got at the return place was
just like
Miller,
Coors,
Bud,
or
Coors.
Miller. Yeah. And it was just
Yeah, plus the bottle crushes were the worst because there's also deposit on glass bottles. And the way those machines work is rather than taking the can and just crushing the can, it takes the bottle in and then shatters the bottle.
Yeah.
Which, as you can imagine, gets glass shards, sticky glass shards.
Everywhere. Yeah.
It's like glitter, but it'll kill you. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff grew up on whiskey. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, so yeah, no, when I turned 21, it's like, well, I want to drink and beer is awful, or so I hear, and so I smell. I wonder what this other stuff's about, and so I learned mixology. And
the mixology is a much easier way to go than beer, to be honest.
Well, what's funny is I was always interested in like, your classic cocktails. I didn't want to learn how to make jungle juice.
It starts off early at the Taco Bell when you got the free cup and you just went.
Yeah.
What does that taste like? Well, that's not good.
Yep.
Let's try. All right. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. That's where it gets you.
Yep.
Taco Bell open fountain drinks is the gateway to cocktails.
It really is. Really is. But no, I always had a fascination with watching bartenders and whatnot. Like, what are they doing? What are they mixing? What's the ratios? What does this taste like? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it?
Jeff's favorite movie in the 80s was Tom Cruise's Cocktail.
Yeah.
Kokomo was his favorite song.
You got me. Anyway, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. This has been episode 357 of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Drop us a like. Follow me on Blue Sky at Craft Computing for daily shenanigans. You can't follow Steve because he's a boomer.
Nope. I'll get something eventually, I promise.
Yeah, you should get on Blue Sky. It's good.
Okay.
It's good. Yeah. More of a risky business guy. Yeah. Dun 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 dun. A little old time rock and roll for you, Zach. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you next week, maybe on Thursday.
That's right.
We'll
see
find out.
PDX Land. All right.
Cheers, everyone.
See you, everybody.